Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time to join us today. My name is Matt Glover, I'm just with Executive Council Media Services. Premier Scott Moe, I'll have some opening comments just on recent trade mission to Germany and the UK, and then response to Donald Trump tariffs, and then we can open up for questions. Premier, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here, and good morning. Just a few opening comments about the past week, and then I'm sure you'll have a number of questions that I'd be pleased to answer. And this week, I participated in a trade mission to Hanover, Germany, to the Hanover Messe, as well as spent a couple of days in London. Our government remains focused on expanding Saskatchewan's export markets around the world and diversifying our exports around the world. And this is all part of our very comprehensive tariff response plan in light of imposed tariffs or the threat of imposed tariffs from our largest trading partner, the United States of America. Telling Saskatchewan's story around the world to expand and diversify our export opportunities, therefore our opportunities in communities right across this province, has always been our goal. And it didn't take the election of Donald Trump for us to be focused on that international engagement in many of the 160 countries that we export products to each and every year. What this does is it protects our opportunity here in Saskatchewan communities. It creates jobs and protects the existing jobs that we have for families across Saskatchewan. Even more important today is the engagement with these countries and building on previous engagement in light of the USA tariffs that were being applied not only to Canada and Mexico in North America, but the tariffs that are being applied to now many other countries around the world. And in that, and in those relationships that we have, we very well may find some opportunities to advance and diversify that trade with those countries that are looking to also diversify their trade relations. I met with a number of financial leaders, business leaders, as well as innovators from around the world, all wanting to hear about Saskatchewan's story of providing food, fuel, and fertilizer, sustainable food, fuel, and fertilizer to the world. This week, we also saw, April the 2nd, the self-proclaimed Liberation Day of President Trump, with many countries around the world now facing tariffs from the United States of America. And it appears that Canada's approach of a very coordinated, I would say strong and measured response, not only by the provinces, but by working alongside the federal government, while continuing to engage, to educate, and to advocate with our American counterparts at all levels in the U.S. administration. I wouldn't say that it's successful, but I would say that it is seeing a relatively positive outcome. Successful would mean that we would return to a free and fair trading environment, but we are seeing, I'd say, a relatively positive outcome relative to many other nations around the world. So Saskatchewan is going to continue to make the case that the free and fair trade environment benefits not only all of our citizens in our province, our nation, but across North America and really globally. Saskatchewan, as I said, exports products to over 160 countries around the world, and we're not only facing challenges from the American president with the potentially imposed U.S. tariffs, but as we know, the most significant challenge that our province has in the short term is the 100% tariff on canola oil, canola meal, as well as a tariff on hogs. And so we continue to urge our federal government and engage at the province-to-province level or at the province-to-nation level wherever we can to increase those export markets and further diversify our trade to countries all around the world. We remain very concerned about the previous tariffs that were and are implied on Canadian steel. And continue to engage on potential tariffs that may arrive and impact our province in the forestry industry. And we'll continue to engage with the U.S. to have these tariffs removed. Where we are today is we do have a tariff on steel, of which we have used some of the procurement strength that we have in the Crown utilities to advance and to ensure limited, if any, no job loss in that sector in our province. And today, we have the 100% tariff on canola oil and canola meal. That's what we have in Saskatchewan. As we look ahead, we very much are engaging on the potential threat of U.S. tariffs in the forestry sector. So our government meanwhile is going to continue to do all that we can as part of our tariff response plan to make life more affordable for Saskatchewan people, and that includes the income tax reductions that you saw announced in our budget, which follows up on our campaign commitment, as well as our elimination of the entirety of the carbon tax, making Saskatchewan the first carbon tax-free province in the nation of Canada. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Have you secured any new trade agreements or commitments to counterbalance the effects of U.S. tariffs?
Pardon?
Have you secured any new trade agreements or commitments?
So I would say that there's trade that is happening all the time outside of various trade agreements that we have. We have CETA, TPP, a number of other agreements that Canada is signatory to, as well as the USMCA. But there's trade that's happening outside of those agreements all the time. That's why you hear when it comes to the auto tariffs that are in, or even the fentanyl tariffs, that the president has said that non-compliant USMCA items would have this tariff applied. Largely in Saskatchewan, our potash, our uranium, our agricultural products, they're all covered in that trade agreement. But there is trade that happens outside of those agreements, not just with the U.S., but around the world. And yes, to answer your question, there was a number of private industries, private businesses, private corporations that were doing business at Hanover Messe, a number of them from Saskatchewan and from Canada that were doing significant amounts of business there and actually advancing other conversations that they have so that they can do business globally in the future. I would say in the broader European Union and the UK, where I just visited, as well as some of our traditional markets like India, like Vietnam, that there is a real thirst to advance trade, and not only with Canada, but specifically with Saskatchewan because of what we provide. First and foremost is ingredients for food. We provide food security. Second is we provide energy security, and not in a traditional way of providing oil and gas. Our $10 or $15 billion of oil and gas that we produce each and every year all goes to the United States of America. But we do provide uranium. We're into the lithium space now. We're into the helium space, which is very much, part of the semiconductor conversation as we move forward. We're into the rare earth elements processing space, and there is a significant amount of interest, not only from, various countries across the European Union and the UK in each of those areas, and advancing our relationship in each of those areas. And so, yes, there's trade that is happening even outside the current trade agreements that we have. But there's also a lot of discussion about future trade and how we can actually do more, for example, from Saskatchewan to the EU, do more from Saskatchewan to the UK, do more from Saskatchewan to India, for example. And I would just add to that, as the world this past week, much of the world, many of the countries around the world are facing tariffs from the U.S., there are going to be opportunities that arise in that we most certainly, as a province that has contacts in many of these countries, are going to be advocating for switching to Saskatchewan products, whether that be canola, whether that be peas, whether that be wheat, whether that be uranium, whatever, potash, whatever it might be. You should switch to Saskatchewan products because we're a sustainable supplier from an environmental perspective, but also a strong and sustainable supplier from trying to be there each and every year and part of your food and energy security value chain.
My last question, do you think your meeting with Senator Chuck Grassley helped influence his stance on the bill regarding tariffs?
Yes. And that engagement that we have been doing, that's not the first time I've met with Senator Grassley. That engagement at the Senate level, Congress level, governor level, as well as some of the appointees in President Trump's cabinet, I think are helping. To educate and to advocate on behalf of what the consequences are for in this case, the American farmer if you're going to tariff potash, what the consequences are for the American consumer if you're going to tariff energy, and what the consequences are for the American family when they go to the grocery store if you're going to tariff agricultural food products or equipment or anything in the supply chain for that matter. And so, yes, I do think the broader engagement and advocacy that myself as the premier of this great province, but other premiers have brought to the U.S. has had an impact on where we find ourselves today and where we found ourselves on Liberation Day was not the best position, but a far better position than many other countries around the world.
Where are we at, Mr. Premier, with China on fuel tariffs, and is there any discussion with the federal government, or are you bypassing them altogether?
Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, no, and yes. So where we are at is I've asked Prime Minister Carney on multiple occasions. He needs to reach out. He said he would reach out at the highest levels with President Xi and his government to find a path and to commit to finding a path to a tariff-free environment when it comes to canola oil and canola meal. This is a significant market for Saskatchewan, as all of our markets are for our Saskatchewan products. Second, we're reaching out at the subnational level again to advocate and educate on the importance of accessing these products from Saskatchewan and why that matters. We've reached out to not only the Canadian ambassador to China, but also the Chinese ambassador to Canada, and are looking at, how can we advocate with subnational leaders within the country of China. But we need that engagement from the federal level, from when my understanding has not occurred yet. And so I ask for it again. We are Canadians in Saskatchewan, and the biggest and most significant and urgent challenge that we face when it comes to the tariff conversation is not the United States of America. It is China with their 100% tariff on canola oil and canola meal. It will result in job loss. We're doing everything we can to diversify that market, which we've had to do before, not to this degree. But we need our federal government to represent Saskatchewan farmers and the Saskatchewan canola industry, and I'd ask him to do so.
On that front, Mr. Premier, Preston Manning has recently spoken out and said a vote for the Carney Liberals is a vote for Western secession. Do you have any response to those statements by Mr. Manning?
Well, we most certainly are Canadian in this province, and that's despite, at times, feeling with the imposed policies that have come from the Liberal government over the last number of years have really, come forward without consultation. And certainly, I think one, and even myself at times, has said that, or can make the argument that they aren't in the best interest of the people that are living in this province and the families that are generating wealth in the oil and gas industry, the mining industry, the ag industry, all of the industries that are very, very important to the jobs and where we go as Saskatchewan people to work each and every day. But also we should remember are the most sustainably producing industries in the world. And you picked the industry, and Saskatchewan is doing it not only better from an environmental perspective, but doing better from an ethical perspective as well in how those products those industries are engaging people wherever they're operating in the province. And so we should be proud of that as Saskatchewan residents, and we should equally across Canada as Canadians be very proud of what and how we're producing the products that we have in Canada. Our issue is policy-based, not so much about the person, it's policy-based. And I would say that the Liberal Party of Canada has shifted their policies to some degree. They're actually adopting some of the Conservative policies, backing up on the consumer carbon tax and a few other minor things. They need to go further. They need to go further from our perspective in order to truly make a commitment that they are going to represent the best interests of Saskatchewan people and families today and allow us to fully unleash the potential that we have into the future. We have written each of the leaders with what we would like to see with respect to policy framework. There's no doubt that who aligns best with the questions that we have asked is Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party. His platform that he is putting forward with respect to developing the mining sector, developing the resource sector, supporting agriculture, supporting our market access around the world, as well as investing right back into people that are working in community after community in this province. There's no doubt that his policy, in my opinion, is the strongest policy that's being put forward by any of the leaders right now. That's not to say that the Liberals couldn't shift to some degree and get them, and it wouldn't take as much as they might think to get them into a place where we could actually unleash the full advantage of producing more of the most sustainable goods on earth. And I would ask the Liberal Party to consider that.
And just, do you agree with his statement, though, that a Liberal victory would spark a Western secession crisis?
Well, I won't go so far as to comment on a Western succession crisis at this point in time. We will work with whoever wins the election at the end of April. That being said, if they continue down the path of that the Liberal Party has, in unconsulted policies like carbon taxation, in unconsulted policies like energy production caps, in unconsulted policies and changes to Bill C-69. the environmental impact assessment bill, which is restricting our ability to, for example, get our energy to the West Coast, and which Canadian today wouldn't like to be able to provide more energy to other global citizens, which Bill C-69 restricted our ability to get our energy through Energy East to other Canadians, and which Canadian wouldn't like access to that Saskatchewan and Alberta energy today. Those policies all lay at the feet of the federal Liberal government, supported by the NDP. So if that's the path that they are going to continue to take, in that unconsulted policy that is harmful to how we create wealth, jobs, and opportunity in this province, then we are going to have a significant problem moving forward. And if they were able to shift to some degree, should they win, which I'm not certain they will at this point in time. I think it will be a very, very close election, and I think every vote across this nation will matter. And I would encourage all Canadians to look past the discussion that we're having right now with our largest trading partner and look at the policies of the various parties that are running in the election, and how those policies, because policies matter, will shape our nation over the next 4 years.
And just to ask you about the Manning Conference, you're set to speak there. It's still called the Manning Center for Building Democracy, right? Or
No.
whatever.
No, it's True North, Strong and Free or something now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Manning Conference.
Yeah, it used to be the Manning Conference.
Oh, okay, yeah. And just, just curious, you've been talking about Team Canada. Is speaking at this conference, given those comments by Mr. Manning, is that still, do you feel that contradicts the importance of the message of a Team Canada approach going and speaking at this conference?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I think you've seen, I would say significant leadership at the subnational level, at the provincial level, and territorial leadership level over the last while, and quite frankly, in a void of national leadership. With the leaving of our Prime Minister, they ran through a leadership election, and there's been a time over the last period of time where the Liberal Party of Canada has left us with quite a void as Canadians. And I would commend all of the subnational leaders that have at times had to put our differences aside and have some difficult conversations in order to collectively provide the best leadership that we can as 13 provincial and territorial leaders, right up to and including engaging using all of our contacts in the United States of America through probably one of the more pivotal times in that Canada-U.S. relationship.
Getting back to Europe, I'm just curious what the mood is over there regarding the whole tariff situation. I'm almost thinking that there's a lot more concern about a global, worldwide, deep recession now that tariffs have come in.
Yeah, there's concerns about the effects and what that might mean, and we're seeing those effects, I think, in the in the changes in the stock market. Which impacts everyone's retirement fund, if you should have one, and very shortly will impact jobs, largely in the U.S. Consequently, when our whole message to the U.S. administration has been when President Trump puts tariffs on incoming goods into the U.S., it's U.S. citizens and families that pay for that. And that's why we have said you have to be very measured in your response, your counter-tariff response, because by that very same argument, counter-tariffs are going to be paid for by Canadian families and Canadian individuals. And so we have to, be very, very measured in all that we do in this space, because the goal is to have that free and fair trading environment, that tariff-free trading environment, and everything that we say, do, and speak of should be heading us in that direction. And everything should be focused on de-escalating that. The rest of the world now is subject to the conversation that Canada has been subject to for the last couple of months. The rest of the world is not all of it, but largely is experiencing some degree of reciprocal tariff from the United States of America. So one, they're concerned about the financial impacts of that. Two, they also are looking for where can they strengthen their trade relationships with other countries outside of the U.S. And I would say and our message is there's nowhere stronger to look than Saskatchewan and Canada. And that's a very receptive message to bring outside of Canada. That's why we had our trade minister in Singapore and Vietnam recently. It's why we had our ag minister at the Global Pulse Show in the United Arab Emirates, as well as in India, both significant markets for us. That's why I was in Mexico and more recently in London and in the EU. It was advocating for expanding that trade relationship with countries all around the world, of which we currently deal with about 160.
Last job numbers report came out today, and it shows that Saskatchewan is in a pretty good spot for that. Why do you think Saskatchewan is doing better than other provinces right now in terms of job numbers?
I would say policies matter, and the policies of the last decade and a half certainly matter, right up to and including our very comprehensive tariff response plan. that we had put forward over the course of the last number of weeks. And I would say that it's been in effect for years now, educating, advocating, and creating contacts around the world to expand and diversify our markets. And you're seeing the results of those policies that are attracting investment, allowing for the development of our resources, creating jobs in our communities. You're seeing those policies now come together with real results in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is a beacon of light, a very providing, and Saskatchewan people, I would say, are providing some much-needed certainty in a very uncertain world. You see in Saskatchewan, this month our jobs are up 6,600. The Canadian job market is down 33,000. We're first in the nation. You see in Saskatchewan today, our exports continue to climb year over year over year. That's the source of our wealth in each of our communities and in each of our families. You see in Saskatchewan the only balanced budget in the nation of Canada. The only balanced budget. You see in Saskatchewan just this week, we have the highest credit rating of any province across Canada. Just this week, we moved into position number 1 when it comes to having the highest credit rating. And so what would I say to that is policies matter. And people should think about those policies as we find our way towards federal election day. Saskatchewan certainly, and this was a message that we brought to the EU, to the UK this week, but bring on in every mission that we attend, is that Saskatchewan can provide certainty in today what is an extremely uncertain environment.
The overdose crisis is continuing in Saskatoon here, and your government committed to creating 500 spaces, rehab spaces. There are people who are dying right now, needing to get into detox, and others waiting weeks and weeks. So what do you tell the families of those people who say there aren't enough treatment spaces open right now, they can't get in, and they're waiting?
There is no family in this province that is not impacted in some way with a family member, a friend, or someone near them that isn't in some way challenged with mental health challenges that we see in all too often subsequent addictions. And our communities are very much challenged with the poisonous drugs that are entering our nation, our province, and not just Saskatoon, but communities across this province. And in particular of recent, the very tainted and poisonous drugs that are immediately killing people in this city. Our efforts have been twofold: is to build our recovery opportunities, but also to increase the enforcement. The recovery opportunities for those, unfortunately, that are living a life with addictions. I think we're at about 500. Our 500 committed to recovery beds. We're at 264 today, and we're building those out as quickly as we possibly can. Everybody in this province that may have entered a life or living a life with addictions deserves an opportunity to access a recovery bed in this province, and we're going to use the strength of our economy to continue to invest in that as quickly as we can find the people to offer those services. That being said, we're also focused on eradicating this poison from our streets. Those that are dealing this fentanyl and crystal meth in a Saskatchewan community, we are investing heavily in additional police officers. You will see legislation coming into the legislature in the next number of weeks that is going to increase drastically the consequences to the maximum level that the province can outside the Criminal Code of Canada. For those that are dealing this poison to Saskatchewan people who we know, there are going to be consequences for them, and there are going to be the police officers to ensure that they are caught. And so it's a twofold approach: building out our recovery spaces and investing heavily in enforcement and the consequences of those that are providing this poison. To those families, which is just about every family in this province to some degree, that are know someone or supporting someone that has going through a mental health crisis or unfortunately has entered a life of addiction. First, thank you for the support you're providing, and please continue providing it. And the province is coming, using the strength of our economy to invest in these two areas as quickly as we can to end this crisis in our communities and to remove the people that are making that poison available.
The NDP has criticized your response to the tariffs, saying it was too slow And they also said earlier this week that the recent budget lacked an action plan. How do you respond to that criticism?
I think they're wrong. And so, you know, when you look at our response to what today is, you know, very front of mind for the world, Donald Trump's imposed tariffs on Canada and virtually every other trading country in the world. Our action plan started in November of 2007. By engaging with the world on behalf of our export-based industries that are creating wealth in Saskatchewan. It's been opposed each and every opportunity by the NDP in the legislature. When we opened trade offices, they opposed it. When we went on a trade mission, they opposed it. When we went to Washington, they called it junkets with friends. The NDP need to explain why they have opposed our engagement with the countries that we're doing business with at every step, and now are saying, oh, you should go out and do some more engagement. Well, it's quite an about-face, and it's nothing short of hypocritical. I said earlier, policies matter. And what we've seen in this province is in 2007, our export value was $17 billion. In 2018, it was $31 billion. And the last 3 years running, it's been between 45 and 50. That's the source of our wealth. And the policies that we've put in place have attracted that investment into new mines, attracted that investment into value-added agricultural processing and new industries like lithium, helium, and et cetera. The Saskatchewan certainly is a beacon of light and is providing certainty today in that very uncertain environment. And that's despite the NDP opposing those policies that have attracted that investment. In fact, they supported federal government policies like carbon taxation and Bill C-69 that are very much we're seeing success in this province despite those policies, not because of them, and they need to change a little bit into the future. And I think even the NDP have realized that. The Liberals are even realizing it to some degree. We are, you know, we're looking at what we wanted to do this spring was to touch base with most, if not all, of the international markets of importance. Many of those markets we have a trade office in. And so we had our Minister of Trade and Export had, as I said, been in Singapore and Vietnam. We were Agriculture Minister was in India and the Emirates. I was in the EU as well as UK and Mexico. So we will have South Korea and Japan, both nations that have been impacted by the tariffs that were released by the President on Liberation Day. And so we've been in touch with them, not in person and not in those markets, but that might be something that we'd consider over the next number of months. Second to that, I don't have anything planned. But it's highly possible that we could find our way into the U.S. market at some point in the future. And in the near future, despite Liberation Day and all of the rhetoric that's coming out of this one gentleman that happens to be the president, despite all of that, this is our largest trading partner. And historically has been our largest ally. The USA has been our largest ally, but they are our largest trading partner. And as much as we will make every effort to continue diversifying our trade into other nations, of which we've done a reasonably good job of the last number of years, or we were the least dependent or one of the least dependent provinces on US exports today. But despite all of that, and despite the conversation we're having today, there likely will continue to be Canada's largest trading partner as the dust settles, and likely even Saskatchewan's.
Any comment on the teachers reaching a new collective agreement with the government?
Good. That's always been the goal, and I think it's a very good indication as we move forward. As you saw in the provincial budget, significant investment, in particular investment in that K-3 space, and a focus on improving our K-3 outcomes. We all know the opportunities that a student can aspire to in grades 4 through 12, and I would say throughout life, are greatly enhanced and improved when they leave grade 3 at a grade 3 level on reading, writing, and being able to add. And so this is, I think, a very good foundation for us to build on that investment that we are making in that K-3 space, but also for parents to have confidence and expectations with respect to our K-3 outcomes. We're looking for those to improve in the years ahead. Thank you, everybody. Don't let me take your phone.